Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Limbus Company video. Today, in honor of America's Day, July 4th, we're going to be playing through the Mirror Dungeon using what else but guns. Lots and lots of guns. Obviously, it's like guns are very, very expensive in this franchise, so it's pretty rare the amount of identities that we have that actually have guns. It's interesting to note that like the half, like literally half of them are Limbus Company identities, like Ryoshu and Otis, right? And they can have guns because Limbus Company has just a lot of money, and thus they can actually afford it. And then the Full Stop office as well, well, they got Hong Lu, who is also just as equally as rich. But the other half, their guns are literally, they're just ego gear. And so it's basically, it's funny to notice that and basically just realize that in order to actually use guns in this universe, you either need to be ridiculously rich or literally just manifest them using your mind. Makes sense though with how expensive it is. Of all of these identities though, my favorites are definitely the Full Stop office. Like, they are just so fun to play with. I still stand by the fact that they are probably the most fun duo to actually use in this game. Of course, there are a few other duos that can be just as equally as entertaining to play with, such as, for example, Fell Bullet Yisong and Contempt Ryoshu. That's a pretty fun duo as well, but just the amount of synergy that the Full Stop office have going on with the fact that they basically interact with every single one of the others' skills, it just elevates them to another level, in my opinion. Speaking of Fell Bullet Yisong, there are two other identities that could be used for this video, and that is obviously, like I said, Fell Bullet Yisong. He also has a gun. And then Faint Aroma and Solitude Ryoshu. The reason I'm not using those two is because, well, Fell Bullet Yisong, I don't really like using him if you're not using him with Contempt Awe, because he feels very, very weak without her. And the main reason why I'm not using, I'm using LCCB Ryoshu instead of Faint Aroma is simply because Faint Aroma also uses a crossbow, which doesn't count as a gun, so. And in that regard, you could also technically ban the identities of both Otis and Gregor as well, because they don't only use their gun to attack. But I feel like that's getting into semantics at that point. So, I don't know. whatever feels right is right, and this is what I feel is right, so it's right. In case you're wondering why the thumb is entirely absent, well, it's also a very similar reason in the fact that they don't use guns. They have ammo, yes, but they don't shoot the ammo. It's all acceleration rounds, basically, that make them move faster by taking advantage of the explosive force that the bullets use, and therefore, yeah, they are exempt from this team because they don't use guns. They use special swords. So no thumb. Only guns. Only shooting. Only explosives. Which, talking about explosives, that brings up another interesting point. Because things like, you know, grenades and stuff, they are pretty much entirely absent from this franchise, and I assume it's because the restriction of bullets, it's not exclusively to bullets, it's more so like probably to gunpowder, honestly, than anything else. And so actually manufacturing things that use more gunpowder than a simple bullet is probably more expensive than it's worth, and thus explosive devices like grenades or missiles or things like that, they're simply not worth manufacturing with how expensive they are. Of course, I do think that I can't remember exactly, but I do believe that the Sinners do explode at some point. I think during like Canto 4 maybe, I can't remember the exact details, but I feel like they do explode at some point during the story. And the very fact that they do explode means that explosive devices are a thing, and thus they are not just strictly outlawed. It's kind of interesting how these identities are just... they completely lack any sort of synergy whatsoever. Like, the closest you have is poise, but that's just because poise can literally be applied to every identity, and they all get benefit from it. But it's like, you have poise in the Full Stop office and Gregor. Burn from their soul. Sinking from both Hong Lu and... or not Hong Lu. Sinking from Yi Song and Otis. And then Ryoshu is Tremor, Poise, and Rupture. There's literally like no synergy at all between any of these identities. And that's the beauty of bullets. You can give them to literally any identity, and they can do literally anything they want. It is an incredibly versatile status effect. So what else can I really talk about? Considering how just varied all of these guys are, there's no real through line of which I can really discuss anything in particular, so I don't know. I guess I'll just start talking about the identity of these guys that I find to be the most interesting. Not because the identity itself is anything to write home about, but because of what they represent, and that is none other than Pirate Gregor. The character he is based off of, Smee, is a character that, ever since her introduction, I have been eagerly anticipating the payoff for what she represents. And that is, of course, none other than Captain Hook. I want to see Captain Hook. I want to see him back in... I want to see him in the game. He's literally only been mentioned in Chapter 5, Canto 5, and nowhere else. He's basically vanished off the face of the earth and completely forgotten about, and it's just... I want to see him. Not really because of him, but because half of the abnormalities in this game, they're based off of fairy tales, right? And one of the fairy tales that we have not actually had an abnormality created around is Peter Pan. And thus, Captain Hook, his existence implies also the existence of a Peter Pan abnormality, and that's what I really, really want to see. And now, Peter Pan as a... The real reason why I want to see a Peter Pan abnormality, it's because obviously the abnormalities are my favorite thing about this game. They're the reason why I got into this franchise. They're the reason I stick around still. And to me, they are the most interesting aspect about this entire story. More so than anything else. And so I just want to see more of them, as much as possible. And so to have one that would be so interesting, like Peter Pan, to be teased, but done literally nothing with, it is a tragedy of the highest order, in my opinion. Obviously, Papa Bongi, not a hard fight. He's honestly easier to solo than with a full team, because if you're soloing him, then, well, all of your damage is basically coalesced into a single character, and thus you can do... You just have a higher DPS, basically, because you're not just scattered all about. It also doesn't help that he's resistant to pierce damage, but not much you can do about that, I suppose. That's unfortunate. That is really, really unfortunate, actually. Because now we have to kill all the stupid bongies again. Wasting my time. Thank you, Papa Bongi, for being faster than Gregor. Not that I think Gregor would actually have killed there, but it's the thought that counts.
와, 엄청난 공격이었어. 기념할 만한걸? 칼날이 잘 드네요. 아마 그 공격이 약점이었겠죠?
깔끔한 헤드샷. 머리통에 작살났다고.
악당 퇴치 성공! 오늘도 정말 멋진 활약이었어. 적들이 뭔가 기분이 좋아 보이는 것.
Alright. This fight is a lot harder than the actual boss fight for this floor. I'll say that much. Like these puppets, or whatever they're called, they do not mess around. I'll say that much. Especially when they hit you with this lust skill right here. It's rough. It's real rough. But as long as you just don't clash against their defense skills, it's not that bad. Because what really makes it a problem is that if you clash against their defense skill, then they get the I don't remember what the status effect is. It's like called ligament restructure or something, and it basically just gives them full unbreakable coins on that skill. So you really just don't want to clash against them at all when they have a defense skill out. Unless you have enough damage to like stagger them, in which case it's fine, but otherwise it's a better idea to just not do it at all.
상황이 끝나면 티페리츠에게 방금 상황 녹화되어 있냐고 물어봐.
나가주게.
한 점만 노린다.
Fortunately, this second fight is going a lot better than the first, which
탄하구만.
I'm not really going to show the first because I didn't really say anything during it, so
괴로워하는 게 느껴지지 않아? 이 기세로 계속 나아가자.
it definitely wouldn't be that interesting to watch, I don't think.
지원한다.
But yeah, this is going a lot smoother. Mostly because I'm actually using defense skills whenever I don't want to clash against their defense skill, like I said. As long as you avoid doing that, they're a lot more manageable, but
깜짝 놀랐어요.
even with that, they can still give you quite a bit of trouble. Like here, for example, I would do that, but it's a better idea to just not attack them in the slightest.
사격 개시.
대상 확인. 철침탄. 트렌치샷. 확산탄. 임상 시험 성공.
방금 멋졌어. 너희들의 사랑의 힘이, 빛의 힘이. 저 어둡고
Marcel is probably the one who's doing the most damage right now.
승리도 시간 문제겠지.
Like the full stop office, they're pulling their own weight pretty well, but
사선이 비었어요.
시야 확보.
Marcel's extra attack weight is really what's pushing him over the edge.
조금만 더 힘내자. 이제 정말 개체의 제압까지 얼마 남지 않았어.
나가주게.
And maybe we'll be able to actually see the full stop office's secondary unique gimmick.
敵に対して大きな打撃を与えました。
By which I mean Heathcliff retreating
깔끔한 헤드샷.
and then giving an extra coin
잘났다.
to Honglu.
자세가 무너져.
It's very cool. Like that's definitely the one thing that I like the most about the full stop office, because in doing so it kind of keeps their same gimmick alive, because after Honglu uses both his skill 2 and skill 3, Heathcliff will then follow up with a shot of his own.
타겟 포착.
And obviously when he's not on the team, then he can't do that. But
완전체.
when he's in a backup unit, or after he's retreated, because he ran out of ammo,
대상 확인. 철침탄. 트렌치샷.
Honglu does get an extra coin.
임상 시험 성공.
And it sort of mimics the
완전 멋있는 걸?
way how Heathcliff gets to use an attack,
부탁하자.
오케이.
다음 목.
because that final coin is actually Heathcliff doing the damage there, which is very cool. I do like that effect. That's probably my favorite effect out of like pretty much any identity, honestly.
다행이에요.
징계팀 직원이 있는 힘껏 찔러놓고 으깨놨지만 저것들은 언젠가 다시 재생하겠지.
And that honestly brings me to another point that I want to make, in that even though we are using guns and they are technically ranged attacks,
나만의 지옥인가?
there is no real distinction between ranged and melee in this game. In Library of Ruina, there was a distinction between them. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it had some sort of unique effect in clashes where if you win a clash, you can't actually take any damage from it or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but point is, there was a distinction between
두드려 패고 터뜨려
between ranged attacks and melee attacks, but in this game there really isn't one.
거겠어.
시야 확보. 쏜다.
For that special coin for Honglu, though, there is a bit of a minor distinction with it in that it is an unbreakable coin. And by making it an unbreakable coin, it's kind of like mimicking the fact that since it's a ranged attack, it's kind of unavoidable.
불리한 환경이 되었네.
포위망 구축.
한 점만 노린다.
I do wish there was some kind of distinction for ranged attacks, though.
이중격발.
Because they really are. They really are no different from melee. The only real distinction we get is that bullets, when they are consumed, you do more damage with them usually, but... yeah. It's hard to make ranged attacks interesting when there's really nothing special about them.
금방 끝내고 버스로 돌아갈 수 있겠다. 그치?
필중이 의지만 있다면
핵심적인 스프레드에 있던 아르카나를 부쉈어. 이제 서서히 힘을 잃어갈 거야.
Shock Centipede is Shock Centipede. He's really not a hard fight. He's incredibly easy.
완벽한 한 방.
At least Gregor gets a good shot off. It's very difficult to actually allow Gregor to get a good shot off, so it's nice that he actually can in this case.
쨍그라.
And now we just use defense skills.
계속해도 돼.
Honestly, I do like this change a lot with the Shock Centipede, where you want to use defense skills against him instead of winning clashes. The only real downside about it is that, like, clashable counters and guards, they are very, very awkward to use
불러주기야?
into the Shock Centipede, but other than that,
세상이
it's a much better
평화로워지는
change.
건 기쁜 거야.
정신교육의 효과가 보이는
So I've been thinking, ever since I talked about
잘못이면 환상체를 쳐죽이는
how the,
갈아마시려는 저 눈빛 마음에 들어.
the ranged attacks are functionally identical to
두드려 패고
melee attacks in this game, and that's simply not how it worked in Library. I think it would be a good idea to at least incorporate a portion of the how Library of Ruina tackled ranged attacks. And that's by allowing any skill that is considered a ranged attack to be used before every other attack in the game. So, for example, this attack right here from Otis, the Mirage Incision, that's the only skill on the skill board that is a melee attack instead of a ranged. And so,
깜짝 놀랐어.
if it worked like how it did in Library, then that attack would go after everybody else has already moved, regardless of her speed. And I think that is probably how ranged attacks should be used in this game specifically as well.
나아가주게.
한 점만 노린다.
They should just effectively ignore speed. Well, they don't exactly ignore speed, but they're always used before melee attacks regardless of speed. And for a similar regard, I feel like they should also be able to
사무실 직원을
ignore speed in terms of clashing,
조준
unless they're clashing against a ranged attack themselves. In any case,
쟤네 좀
ranged skills should absolutely be functionally distinct to melee attacks, and they just currently aren't.
그만해.
So,
제압기
머리
찔기
있는 힘껏 찔러놓고 으깨놨지.
something needs to change, I think.
완벽한
언젠가
공격이었어.
다시 재생하겠지. 내가 부서지고 파괴되어도 다시 교체되는 것처럼. 이 얼마나 완벽하게 그지없는 나만의 지옥인가.
Let's see. Let's do this. Line 4, section 4. Been a while since I did this floor. It would be a good idea to go under the umbrella and fight him. Like, the best part about this event is that fighting him is almost always a good thing. You want to get both of his, because both of his ego gifts are really good.
고작 이걸 못해서 부탁했니? 다음부터 이런 건 교본한테 시켜.
I guess we'll give him another one. Why not? It's his only skill that actually uses bullets, so why not? And then it would be nice to... That is not a Pierce gift. I forgot what I was saying. Ah well, that's fine. Line 4, section 4. The King in Binds. Love this fight. Great fight. Excellent fight. Let's do Clash Power, why not? Damage is probably preferable, but... yeah. Shouldn't matter too much. I also want to... clash against Heathcliff. Or not clash against Heathcliff, but attack Heathcliff with Mercil here. Because he is the most threatening. Heathcliff is the most threatening character of these Pekatulam. And it's because he's a negative coin identity. Sunshower Heathcliff. He's a negative coin identity, and that means that he corrodes the fastest out of all of the other Pekatulam.
조준은 지역 개체의 둔화를 확인.
Well, yeah, these guys, they're honestly not that difficult if you're both using a full team and not actually trying to beat them very quickly. It's harder if they're the first fight. Like, look at it. He's already corroded. Hilarious. Heathcliff is hilarious, to say the least. Luckily, we don't actually need to attack him here, because he's attacking his own allies, so that's cool. That should do it. We don't want to attack the guy that Heathcliff is attacking because that will cancel his own ego skill. Actually, no, that's stupid. What am I saying? It doesn't matter if that character dies. Actually, I think it does. I don't really remember, but His ego skill would probably get redirected if we killed the one he's attacking.
절충탄
사무소에
프레지션
적어놓은
박상
나이는 없고
임상시험 성공.
개체들의 체력이 많이 깎여 나갔어. 괴로워하는 게 느껴지지 않아? 이 기세로 계속 나아가 보자.
이것 봐. 전술시를 제압하는 건 우리만으로 충분하잖아.
This is a scary one right here. Fines. But it's easily manageable if we just do a little thing called redirecting the clash. Very cool. Except I don't think he actually dies to it, because yeah, ineffective wrath. That's not good. So this probably doesn't stagger and kill him, and thus magic bullet is that's a bullet. Oh yeah, speaking of magic bullet, I totally forgot that she also has a gun. So she is actually somebody who we could have used in this team instead of Ujit, but
사격 개시.
and technically speaking, Magic Bullet would have been a lot better in this team because she does actually use the gun for all of her attacks, and very cool. Nice one, Heathcliff. At least that skill did literally nothing, so not that big of a deal.
역시 네놈 말대로 어떤 사람이라도 맞출 수 있는 마법의 탄원이로.
그런 빙글빙글.
These guys definitely are putting up a bit more of a fight than I thought they would. That's for certain.
내가 만약에 저렇게 강한 걸 맞고 너덜너덜해지면 어쩔 거야? 두고 가야지. 별 수 없다. 예상한 대로긴 한데.
Spell bullet is also a bullet. It counts. Yikes. Definitely not the easiest thing in the world here. I'll say that much. Kind of have to let Dimension Shredder go. Unfortunately.
도망쳐봤자 헛수고다. 퍼져나간 탄환이 어디에서든 네 머리통을 화려하게 터뜨릴 테니.
해냈구나. 나라도 그랬을 거야.
Like they just keep missing coins at max sanity, and it's screwing me. Like what is this? Can't play around that.
편히 쉬시게.
완벽한 한방. 시원한 걸.
You just can't play around it at all. You just can't do it. You can't do it. There's literally nothing I can do about this.
너무 아프게 맞았는데.
예측한 대로.
And now we're just losing all of our sanity because we kept losing clashes and yeah, everything's going to shit.
했으면 좋겠는데요.
Like it always does. Annoying. Otis might die here. There's nothing I can really do about it. It all depends on whether or not she can actually win this clash, which, given that she's at 28 sanity, it's not very likely.
방금 공격. 다음에 다른 개체 얘기도 다시 해봐줄래? 영상으로 남기면.
It does not help that we keep missing coins. I love this game.
優れた式ですね.
대상 확인, 철침탄, 트랜지션, 적화탄, 임상시험 성공.
방금 멋졌어. 너희들의 사랑의 힘이.
Yeah,
제 힘이.
she's losing that clash.
악한 아르카나들을 뒤흔들었어. 이대로면 승리도 시간 문제겠지?
She's gonna corrode soon. If nothing happens here.
한방 먹였어.
Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Why do the ones I can't do anything about? Why are they always the ones to use the egos? That's what I want to know. It's your sanity 30. It's very likely we lose that. And then she hits Otis and Gregor. And Otis probably corrodes and kills everybody with magic bullet. But this is the only thing I can do, and that is basically pray that Marcella is actually capable of winning this clash.
필중 의지만 있다면
도망쳐봤자 헛수고다. 퍼져나간 탄환이 어디에서든 네 머리통을 화려하게 터뜨릴 테니.
Oh my gosh, we got so lucky there.
철침탄
15% chance. Or no, that was like a 20% chance
판결이 잘 되네요.
to win that clash.
아마 그 공격이 약점이었겠죠?
That makes up for all of the the tails rolls that we got there.
타겟 무력.
At least it makes the fight more interesting.
오, 적합한 판단이었어.
덮어놓고 공격하는 것보단 적을 잘 관찰하는 게 중요하지.
Oh my gosh, we can't clash against this at all. It's okay, it's just Dimension Shredder. Dimension Shredder does basically nothing, so... That's nice. What's his speed? 5? We might be able to kill him early. Who is he clashing against? Heathcliff. Of course it's Heathcliff. No, we can't kill him early. Before he uses that. And we can't win a clash against it either, so... Unfortunate, to say the least. You just gotta tank it. No way around it. And then Heathcliff just misses the clash again, because of course he does. At least nobody else got staggered, but that's a lot of sinking damage.
대성공이야. 가름 신나. 노래 부를까?
모두가 말한 대로 방어적인 대응은 확실히 전면전보다 피해는 적고. 하지만 이래서야 환상체에게도 지나치게 친절한 대응 아닌가?
7. Yeah, stagger bar's super low. We kill him before he attacks. Cool.
다음 목표로.
Difficult. Difficult fight. Definitely a lot harder than I was making it out to be at the beginning, so that's cool. Give us more sanity. Not that it's gonna help. We're gonna just miss all of the... Yeah, there it goes already. In the skill check, we're already missing coins. Love it.
이번에 제압할 개체는 이전과는 조금 다른 대응 방식이 필요하거든.
And of course we get terrible speed, and the AoE attack is the one that's being attacked by... It's the one that's clashing against Heathcliff. And Heathcliff has his skills out, so yeah, very cool. Okay, even the king is putting up a fight. He usually doesn't. Usually he's a massive pushover, but yeah, that's speed. Unlucky, to say the least. Everyone roll a 5.
퍼져나간 탄환이 어디에서든 네 머리통을 화려하게 터뜨릴 테니.
무얼 잘못했는지 아는 것부터가 시작이랬어.
전술 시야 전개. 오제트의 눈으로
Now we're better though. We can actually clash with the characters we want to clash.
나아가주게.
대상 확인, 철침탄, 트랜지션, 확산탄, 임상시험 성공.
Pretty unlucky fight, to say the least. It's the only way to really make the King and Binds hard is if you get really unlucky, but... Hey, it makes better content, I guess, so... Who am I to complain? Closer fights are always more fun. It's just sinking isn't really a fun status effect to go up against. Because the only thing that it really does is introduce variable. It's not difficult because it's difficult because the odds of you actually being successful are so varied that you can't really plan around anything. And that's why I think sinking is the worst status effect that can be given to specifically enemies.
두드려 패고 터뜨려 주지.
There's a reason why sinking is simultaneously the strongest status effect in the game and the most obnoxiously annoying. And it's entirely dependent on whether or not you're the one using it. Because of how powerful it is. It really is the strongest status effect.
징계팀 직원이 있는 힘껏 찔러놓고 으깨놨지만 저것들은 언젠가 다시 재생하겠지.
경미한 손실을 제외하면 완벽에 가까운 제압이었습니다. 이제 말씀하셨던 야근을 속히
어이, 알후가 탈출했다. 팀장이 나설 차례로군.
다음에는 류슈 팀원에게도 육체적 파격이 가능한 무기의 승인을 검토해 주십시오, 관리자님.
And that's how I beat Mirror Dungeon 7 hard, using only guns. Happy 4th of July to my American audience. I hope your day is as explosive as these identities are. Not that half of them are actually using gunpowder, considering they're literally, like Marcel, for example, he uses spores. But even still. They are pretty fun to play with, even though they have absolutely no synergy between one another whatsoever, but that is just the nature of bullets. It's versatile as always. Anyway, that's it from me. Like and subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.